Hello, thank you for listening. This is the near-death experience of Diane, and this experience occurred on July 8th of 2016 and was documented on January 29th, 2017. So, a little more than a half a year. Very interesting. Open quote. I was a nurse for 35 years, working night shift as a house supervisor. I love my job. I ran to Code Blues, helped with organ donation, and helped patients die with dignity. I retired in April 2014 so I could spend more time with my husband. In 2016, I was noticing some shortness of breath when going upstairs or when cutting the grass. I hesitated telling my nurse practitioner about this, but I did. She sent me for a treadmill test, which did not show much except high blood pressure. I was also asked to see a cardiologist, which I did, and the other tests were done. Finally, the CAT scan with dye showed a blockage. I went to the catheter lab. The doctor could not even get the line in my left main artery without my blood pressure dropping. He did not finish the catheter procedure and quickly told my husband and daughter that it was bad and that I needed a double bypass. I was transferred to the hospital immediately. My daughter, was also a nurse, understood all of this. I had double bypass surgery on July 8th, 2016. On the morning of the surgery, I told myself that I had lived a good and honest life, and I placed myself in God's hands. I was nervous and scared as they wheeled me into a large room with multiple blue sterile supplies. The nurses looked at me and said, "Good morning, Diane." I couldn't believe they knew my name, but it did help me relax. The anesthesiologist was kind and soft-spoken. Sometime during the surgery, I had a wonderful experience. I am supposing it was during the time they put me on the heart-lung machine. It could have been seconds or minutes that I was clinically dead, but I do not know for sure. I just know that I drifted slowly out of my body to a very cloudy, misty place. I rose slowly, as if I was on an escalator. I did not see myself, nor did I see or worry about those on earth. As I slowly rose, I saw my grandparents. The men were on the left, and the women were on the right. I recognized them right away, although I only saw one grandfather in my earthly life. My grandfather H was wearing a black suit and white shirt that was loose around the neck with no tie. He was holding his black hat that I have seen pictures of. My grandmother H was wearing a very lacy layered dress. Her hair was pulled back and pinned in two places away from her face. My other grandparents had on less dressy clothing because they were farmers. They all smiled at me lovingly, kindly, and I felt peace and safety. They did not say one word or beckon me to come closer. I say they were on the left and right because they were on the beginning of a path that went on back and was lined with other people. I was not privileged to see their faces, but I felt they were my relations and people that I had known. As the path turned and went back further, I could see a beautiful sunset or sunrise with colors of white, yellow, and gold. I could see the outline of people standing on their tiptoes who were trying to see me. They were leaning to the left and the right, trying to get a peek at who had come to visit them. I was never afraid, just amazed. My grandparents were not old or crippled. They were in their 30s. They were happy and at peace. I looked into their eyes and knew they were happy. I slowly faded away and must have gone back into my body. The next thing I knew, I was coming around the next day after surgery. I did not tell my daughter or husband about this experience until the second day, but I knew something very special had happened to me. It was so real and was not a dream. I could describe it in detail for weeks afterwards. After I got home and months of recovery, I kept feeling that there was something that I was supposed to do, and it kept bothering me. It had to do with my grandmother H. It was a message that I was to give the family. Let me try to explain this. Grandmother H had 3 children. She played favorites with 2 of the daughters. The one daughter never forgave her for this. As she grew up and married, she passed on this dislike of her mother to her grandchildren. I know this for a fact because my cousin would openly show and talk about her dislike of Grandmother H. 2 months after my surgery, my cousins, the estranged grandchildren, wanted to have a reunion. This was unusual for all of them to come to Indiana at one time. This did happen, and I knew in my heart that I was to convey a message to my cousin who was so vocal about my grandmother. At the reunion, I took her aside and told her that I needed to tell her something, so we spoke in private. I told her about my surgery and my experience. I told her that she needed to forgive and give up her anger towards our grandmother H because she is in heaven and she has reconciled with her daughter. They are happy. Grandmother H must have done some good things on earth to deserve going to heaven, which is where I believe I was. My cousin began to cry. She said, "You're not going to believe this, but my husband and I talked about all of this on our way from Virginia. We talked about the dislike and the feelings that I had toward my grandmother H." I could feel her relief and letting go of anger that she had had. She said, "Thank you for telling me this." I was also now at peace and felt I had been a vessel for a message to be delivered. I now understood my feelings. I had been bothered by the fact of how I had been given the message. But now, after reading Evidence of the Afterlife by Jeffrey Long and Paul Perry, I now know it was mental telepathy. This answers my question that I had been pondering. My grandparents did not have to say a word. I just knew what they were thinking. End quote. What a beautiful story. And isn't it just amazing how these heavenly pieces of the puzzle come together sometimes? There are some questions here. Question, at what time of the experience were you at your highest level of consciousness or alertness? Answer, after I had floated up and was a step or 2 below my grandparents in the pathway with the other people lining it. I stopped and just looked in amazement. Question, did you suddenly seem to understand everything? Answer, I felt like I could feel the joy and feelings of my grandparents. They did not have to speak. I knew what they thought and how they felt. Question, what importance did you place on your religious/spiritual life prior to your experience? Answer, greatly important to me. Question, what was your religion prior to your experience? Answer, Christian/Catholic, but not attending church every Sunday. Question, have your religious practices changed since your experience? Answer, no. Question, what importance do you place on your religious/spiritual life after your experience? Answer, greatly important to me. Question, what is your religion now? Answer, Christian-Catholic. I continue my Catholic faith, but believe that there are so many ways to honor God, like in nursing and quietly praying or giving thanks to God, also doing good things for people and offering it up to God. Question, did your experience include features consistent with your earthly belief? Answer is both consistent and non-consistent. So a little bit of mix there. Question, during your experience, did you gain information about universal connection or oneness? Answer, yes, there is a heaven awaiting us, and we will see our relatives again. Question, during your experience, did you gain information about the meaning of life? Answer, yes, I was to clear up false information or feelings of dislike or hatred harbored by my relation on earth. Question, do you believe in an afterlife after your experience? Yes, I knew I was given a message to convey to someone on earth. I did not realize this until almost a month or 2 after the experience. Question, do you fear death after your experience? Answer, I moderately fear death. Question, during your experience, did you gain information about love? Yes, our grandmother H must have been a good person despite the struggles in personality she had with her daughter. She was in heaven and felt remorse for what had occurred on earth. Question, what life changes occurred in your life after your experience? Answer, moderate changes. I feel more relaxed. No need to get angry. Materialistic things do not matter as much. Question, how accurately do you remember the experience? Answer, as accurately as other events during the time. Question, do you have any psychic, non-ordinary, or other special gifts after your experience that you did not have before the experience? Answer, no. Question, are there one or several parts of the experience that are especially meaningful or significant to you? Answer, just to see the grandparents again in this wonderful place. Question, have you ever shared this experience with others? Yes. Answer, yes. I shared it with my husband and daughter a couple days after it happened. Now I share it with special people that I believe know God and that I can confide in. They all believe me. Question, did you have any knowledge of NDEs prior to your experience? Answer, yes. Books. No, I never expected to have this experience. Question, what did you believe about the reality of your experience shortly after it happened? Answer, experience was definitely real. I was still sort of in shock about it. I was hesitant to tell anyone because I thought they would think I was crazy. And what do you believe about the reality of your experience now? Experience was definitely real. I cannot forget it, and I still can explain it. I know I was used as a vessel for a message, and I completed that task. End questions, end quotes, end story. Thank you very much, Diane, and thank you for listening. I hope you guys have a great day.